Come on.
I'm ready.
All right then. President Ronald Reagan once said, "It has occurred to me that everyone who is for abortion has already been born." While this statement might be humorous, the subject of abortion is quite serious. Abortion is the termination of a pregnancy, and there are two sides when it comes to the topic of abortion. There is the pro-choice side, which says an unborn baby is like an appendage that a woman can have removed if she wishes. And there is the pro-life side, which says abortion is the murder of a defenseless human being. If the unborn are only non-human masses of tissue, then abortion is perfectly fine. It would be like having a tumor removed from your body. But if the unborn are living human beings, then that means 50 million innocent children have been legally murdered over the past 39 years. It is imperative that everyone knows the answer to two questions. When does life begin, and is a baby a person before it is born? Today, I intend to give you the answers to these two questions. Let's look at the first question. When does life begin? To know this, we must first know what a living being is, and scientists actually took the time to define this. Their definition has 5 parts. 1. Living things are highly organized. 2. All living things have the ability to acquire materials and energy. 3. All living things can respond to their environment. 4. All living things can reproduce. And 5. All living things have an ability to adapt. According to this definition, life must begin at conception. Conception is the moment when a sperm unites with an egg, creating a zygote. A human zygote meets all 5 of the requirements to be a living organism. You may find this surprising, but there is a consensus in the scientific community that life begins when the zygote is formed. So if we know that unborn babies are living beings, then why is abortion still legal? The answer is that many argue an unborn baby is not really a person. In order for abortion to be murder, an unborn baby must be a person. Otherwise, abortion is like killing an animal or a plant. Let's answer the next vital question. Is a baby a person before it's born? There are 3 types of evidence that we should consider when looking for the answer to this pressing question. Let's look at the scientific evidence first. According to the basic rules of biology, humans can only sexually reproduce humans. We know that humans will never sexually reproduce orchids or orangutans. This fact by itself shows that the zygote is at least slightly human. When the zygote is formed, it receives its own unique genetic code, which isn't the mother's or the father's, it's the zygote's. From conception till death, there will be no need for new genetic information in the development of the child. At the point of conception, the genetic makeup of the zygote determines all of the offspring's physical characteristics, such as its eye color and hair color. Even though this zygote shares the same nature with all human beings, the unborn child is not like anyone who has ever been conceived and is not like anyone that ever will be conceived. In addition to the scientific evidence, there is logical evidence which shows that the unborn baby is a person. Let's say someone kills a 10-month-old baby and then they kill a 26-year-old man. When the man is caught, he will be arrested for murdering 2 people. Most agree that it's just as wrong to kill a baby that has already been born as it is to kill a young man. This brings us to 4 arguments that I like to call the S arguments, which are often used to defend abortion, but in fact do the exact opposite. The first S argument is size. Does size affect the personhood of a human being? Of course not. The 10-month-old baby is smaller than the 26-year-old man, but does that make him any less human? The second S argument is stage of development. Does the stage of development affect the personhood of a human being? Once again, no. The baby is in a completely different stage from the man. Even I am in a completely different stage from the man. Does that make me less human? The third S argument is the surrounding environment. Some argue that a baby is not a person as long as it's in the womb. But does the surrounding environment affect the personhood of a human being? Most certainly not. Does it matter if the baby and the man had been killed in a car or at the park? What about at the hospital? The surroundings of the victim at the time they were killed does not change the fact that it is murder. The fourth S argument is state of dependence. Many say that an unborn baby isn't really a person because it cannot survive detached from its mother. But does the baby's state of dependence really affect its personhood? Let's say you take your 5-year-old to the middle of a forest and you leave him there to fend for himself. Do you think he will survive? Probably not. Even 5-year-olds are dependent on their mothers, yet we do not doubt their humanity. Why should we doubt the humanity of the unborn just because they are dependent on their mothers? These 4 S arguments and the scientific evidence make it very clear that an unborn child is different from you and me, but is a person nonetheless. Lastly, along with the logical and scientific evidence, there is the psychological evidence. Post-abortion syndrome, or PAS, is the emotional and psychological consequences that result from abortion, and it is often overlooked when making decisions about abortion, yet it is extremely important. David Reardon began researching the effects of abortion in the mid-1980s, and later he obtained a PhD in biomedical ethics. Here is what his research shows. Out of all women who have had an abortion, regardless of their demographics or number of abortions, 61% experience flashbacks of the abortion, 33% feel suicidal, 78% have feelings of diminished control over their lives, 52% experience difficulty developing and maintaining relationships, and 49% begin or increase drug use. Other symptoms of PAS include eating disorders, depression, periods of uncontrollable crying, and anger management problems. These are all negative consequences that many women experience after having an abortion. It is disturbing to hear abortion justified as a woman's right to choose, because a woman does not have the right to choose to murder her child, born or unborn. Not only does the pro-choice view justify murder of unborn individuals, but it deceives many women and girls into making the decision to abort, only to find out that this creates a set of new psychological problems on top of the ones that resulted from the unplanned pregnancy. So what conclusion can we come to with this information? Well, first we know that life begins at conception, and that the unborn child has its own unique genetic code. Second, we understand that the size, stage of development, surroundings, and state of dependence do not affect the personhood of the human being. Lastly, we recognize that abortion is harmful because it's the cause of negative psychological consequences for many women and girls. All of this information rises against the idea that abortion is justified, and that's an answer to an unplanned pregnancy. We need to be the voice of the unborn who can't speak for themselves, and we need to proclaim the truth about abortion to all of America. If we set our political and religious views aside and come together, we can help save millions of precious lives.